What if everything you seek, a sense of peace, clarity, connection, has been buried beneath layers of spiritual clutter you never needed to carry? Imagine the universe as a vast, silent ocean. Now imagine tossing pebbles of distraction into its depths, muddying the crystal clarity within. Have you ever wondered if your spiritual journey is about adding more or letting go? Many seekers feel weighed down by rituals, concepts, and endless information, mistaking accumulation for growth. But what if the deepest truths are simple, whispered to us beneath all that noise? Few realize that the most profound awakenings often arise in sacred simplicity, not complexity. The tension between doing more and simply being is at the very heart of spiritual evolution. Today, you'll discover the untold power of spiritual minimalism, where ancient wisdom and quantum consciousness agree. The less you carry, the brighter your inner light shines. You'll witness how letting go can attune your vibration, align your energy, and reveal your truest self. Are you ready to sense the difference between spiritual excess and soulful essence? Keep watching to feel the energy shift and unveil why embracing less could transform everything you thought you knew about awakening. Imagine stepping out into a morning just after the rain. The air hangs sparkling and weightless, each breath a gentle invitation to clarity. You pause, aware that beneath the surface of things, a secret pulses, one whispering the essence of every spiritual journey. What if what truly matters is not what we add, but what we release? This is where the mystery of spiritual minimalism begins. Most people move through life gathering ideas, practices, beliefs, hoping that with enough accumulation, awakening will arrive. Yet, sages from every tradition have hinted that the way to the infinite is paradoxically through the simple. It's the opposite of what most expect. Many believe that to be more spiritual is to do more, know more, have more. But universal truth quietly reveals, sometimes in silence, that less holds the secret key. Across ages, from Himalayan caves to ancient deserts, from Taoist mountains to Zen temples, mystical voices echo the same paradox. Lao Tzu, standing at the edge of mystery, wrote, "In pursuit of knowledge, every day something is added. In pursuit of the Tao, every day something is dropped." His words hover like mist, inviting us to unburden ourselves, to descend gently into our own depth. But why is simplicity so elusive? Why does the mind resist letting go? Perhaps you've noticed this in yourself, the urge to collect another spiritual book, to memorize another mantra, to seek the next big secret, hoping that if you just pile enough sacred techniques on your spiritual altar, you'll finally discover peace. You might be sensing even now the tension building. If everything we seek cannot be acquired, could it be revealed only when all has been set down? Let's journey deeper across traditions. In the Christian mystic's heart, Meister Eckhart whispers, God is not found in the soul by adding anything, but by a process of subtraction. Suddenly, spiritual maturity is not an ascent, but a return to the unspeakable essence beneath every layer we've attached. In Sufism, the poet Rumi sings, "There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen." Here, too, is an invitation to silence, to the uncluttered space where the divine becomes audible. The Buddhist path, shimmering with radical simplicity, frames it as the release of attachment. The Buddha, seated beneath his Bodhi tree, awakens not by gathering new dogmas, but by witnessing the falling away of illusion. The root of suffering is attachment, he teaches, urging us to loosen our grip and make space for unconditioned awareness. Imagine for a moment yourself, sitting in stillness, each in-breath like a gentle breeze clearing dust from the mirror of your consciousness. But the mystery deepens still. In the Upanishads, the ancient seers whisper of neti-neti, not this, not that. It is the path of negation, the careful peeling away of all that is not the true self. Each time we release an old story, a fixed belief, an accumulation of dogma, we move closer to the silent radiance of Atman, pure presence itself. Their wisdom hums gently in the invisible space between thoughts. Can you sense it? The echo of freedom. In emptiness? Even among indigenous and shamanic traditions, wisdom flows in rivers of simplicity. The Lakota saying, Mitakuye Oyasin, all my relations, invites us to enter the present with humility and belonging, unburdening ourselves of the illusion of separation that complicates the spirit. Here too, minimalism is a return to right relationship with self, with others, with the land, with the sacred. And yet, let's not confuse minimalism with deprivation. Spiritual minimalism is the art of gently, lovingly returning to what's essential. It's a distillation, not a denial. Think of a sculptor. Each careful stroke removes what is not the form, revealing the living spirit within the stone. The process is both an emptying and a great unveiling. As you listen, perhaps you can feel this process already starting to stir within. A gentle stripping away, a spaciousness forming at the center of your being. Isn't it astonishing how many traditions have guarded this paradoxical key? Even in mystical branches of Judaism, the Kabbalistic teaching of Tzimtzum describes the creation of the world through the divine contracting, making space for existence to unfold, not by filling but by emptying, retreating, allowing. The divine withdraws so something wholly new can emerge. You might be sensing now a subtle energy shift, an invitation to question, what if every moment of letting go is a doorway? What if your greatest breakthrough is not ahead, but nestled in the soft release of what no longer serves? The energetic field of your being begins to feel lighter, as if in this very moment strands of old spiritual baggage are softly unraveling. What is left when striving ceases, when belief is unclasped, when ritual becomes presence instead of performance? A spaciousness inside you opens. Here, spiritual minimalism is revealed not as another discipline, but as a return to the innate purity of being, the fundamental clarity that glows in all traditions, beneath all words, before any dogma formed. This reveals something profound about the nature of consciousness. At its core, consciousness is not an accumulation, but a vast, open field. The more we empty ourselves of noise, mental clutter, spiritual pride, even the compulsion for enlightenment, the more the essence reveals itself, unobstructed and luminous. Picture your awareness now as a crystalline bowl, once brimming with water clouded by sediment. With each gentle act of letting go, a worry, a story, a habit, the water grows clearer. You might even sense this clarity as a tingling in your chest or a sudden spaciousness behind your eyes. This is the beginning of true spiritual sight. Are you perhaps beginning to understand why so many mystics retreated into silence, why so many teachers emphasize the inward journey over outward display? What appeared at first as emptiness reveals itself to be fullness, of peace, of insight, of connection to all that is. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be, whispers Lao Tzu, again threading wisdom through the centuries. But this raises an even deeper question about consciousness. If the essential is always present and simplicity is the portal, what is it that blinds us to this presence? Why does the mind cling so fiercely, and what hidden energies within us resist the art of letting go? What you're about to discover in the next part will shift your perspective entirely. As we dive into the quantum currents of consciousness, the unseen energy behind both accumulation and release, and uncover how ancient minimalism and modern science together reveal the untapped power within every seeker who dares to simplify. Stay with this mystery, For the true nature of spiritual minimalism is about to break open in extraordinary ways you've never imagined. Picture for a moment the still surface of a deep mountain lake at dawn. Its quiet perfection seems unbroken until suddenly a single pebble is dropped. The water ripples outward in silent rings, each a pulse of energy, a signal radiating through the unseen depths. Now, imagine consciousness itself as that lake, a boundless field, vibrantly alive beneath its calm exterior, sensitive to every thought, emotion, and intention you cast within. You may have sensed, in rare moments of deep presence, this underlying energy, silent, profound, and connecting all things. Yet in modern life, most of us never touch the water's undisturbed surface. Instead, we live amidst a storm of pebbles, thoughts, obligations, beliefs, distractions, all incessantly raining down, distorting the clarity within. Here is the paradox at the heart of spiritual minimalism. Everything you truly seek, clarity, insight, oneness, emerges not from adding more, but from stilling the surface and sensing the ever-present depths. This is where the ancient wisdom of minimalism merges with the revelations of modern consciousness science and quantum discovery, where the lines between metaphysical philosophy and physics begin to blur. For centuries, mystics have proclaimed that consciousness is not just a byproduct of the brain, but the very ground of reality, a living field in which all things arise. Now, quantum science is beginning to echo these truths, albeit in different language. Nobel laureate Max Planck, the father of quantum physics, once admitted, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." What a stunning reversal. Many believe that the universe gives rise to consciousness, but universal truth reveals, consciousness gives rise to the universe. Let this revelation ripple within you. When we speak of spiritual minimalism, we're not just talking about removing outer distractions or mental clutter. We are activating a profound law of energy. Every thought form, every attachment, is an energetic pattern, a wave on the quantum sea. To carry more is to occupy more bandwidth, to disperse your presence across countless frequencies. To let go, to simplify, is to harmonize your energy field, allowing your consciousness to cohere into brilliant focus. Perhaps you felt this in rare moments of surrender when you released a grudge or let slip a long-held story. Energy surged through you, subtle but unmistakable. The less you carry, the more fluid your inner being becomes, the more you resonate with what quantum physicists call the field, the network of potentials connecting all things at the subtlest of levels. In ancient Hindu philosophy, the Upanishads described something eerily resonant. As all the spokes are contained within the hub of a wheel, all paths return to the self, the one consciousness. Science now speaks of the unified field. Mystics spoke and speak of the divine as the ocean in which all waves arise and dissolve. The converging insight. Complexity fragments your energy, while simplicity restores the wholeness of your consciousness. You might be sensing even now how the accumulation of spiritual stuff, practices, affirmations, information, sometimes leads not to expansion, but to dissonance. Quantum theory teaches us that energy becomes coherent when it is not scattered over many states. Could it be that our spiritual over-efforts are scrambling our energetic signal, making us harder to tune in, both to ourselves and to the larger wisdom currents permeating existence? Let us pause for a moment and feel the resonance. Imagine what it's like to walk into a profoundly peaceful temple or a meditation cave. The air is heavy with stillness. Time itself seems to stand still. The reason these places feel so sacred is simple. The invisible field is uncluttered by noise. It is primed for deep realization. The same is true within you. The more internal space you clear, the closer you come to the living pulse of pure awareness, the quantum spark from which all realities spring. Why is this so? It is because consciousness and energy, once untangled from unnecessary form, become astonishingly sensitive, like a tuning fork humming in sympathy with a hidden frequency of the universe. Intuition sharpens, synchronicities increase, guidance whispers where before there was only static. The more you shed, the more you listen. Buddhist master Thich Nhat Hanh once described mindfulness as the energy of being aware and awake to the present moment. Where does this energy come from? Neuroscience reveals that focus triggers new neural pathways. Quantum biology suggests consciousness itself may transcend the physical limits of brain and body. Each time you let go of a thought, a fear, or a compulsion to do, your awareness, your very signal in the quantum field, grows. Stronger, clearer, more radiant. You are the sky, the great Tibetan master Pema Chodron reminds us. Everything else is just weather. And still, there is another ripple in this mystery, a shimmering paradox. The more you empty out, the more you become a vessel for what many call universal energy, source, or the quantum force. Spiritual minimalism is not a vacuum, but a crystalline opening through which immense wisdom and healing can pour. In this space, you stop being a collector of fragments and become a conduit of pure insight. Your subtle energy centers, your chakras, your meridian flows, attune, synchronize, and vibrate at new frequencies, allowing you to receive and radiate with less effort and more grace. This reveals something astonishing about the interplay of consciousness and energy. Each spiritual excess, each belief, habit, or expectation you drop is not merely lost, it is transmuted, recycled within the living field, freeing energy for greater evolution. In quantum terms, attention collapses probability into reality. Your conscious, uncluttered focus is transformative power. The field responds almost miraculously to simplicity. A modern parable illustrates this. Quantum physicist David Bohm spoke of the implicate order underlying the universe, a field of hidden wholeness, invisible to those focused only on the surface chaos. Bohm's insight was the same as sages before him. What appears to be randomness or lack is simply complexity that invites perception beyond the obvious. The fewer the veils within you, the more the implicate order reveals itself. When you realize, "There is nothing lacking," Zen Master Sengtsan whispered, "the whole world belongs to you." And so we come full circle. Inner emptiness is fullness, inner silence is song. The internal letting go is not an end, but a beginning. This is the quantum leap that spiritual minimalism offers, not the cold austerity of nothingness, but the joyful rediscovery of your boundless, resonant aliveness. The less you grasp, the more you become. But there is a lingering question, one that electrifies the space between science and spirit. If consciousness and energy respond so powerfully to the art of simplicity, is there proof, real evidence, that the ancient mystics and modern physicists are speaking about the same reality? Can modern science truly validate what so many spiritual paths have known for millennia? What you're about to discover in the next part will draw back the veil between worlds. Brace yourself, for the revelations ahead will not only challenge what you thought you knew about matter and mind, but may just awaken a deeper certainty within you that the quantum simplicity of your consciousness is the secret bridge between ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science. Stay tuned. The next steps will forever shift how you experience reality itself. Imagine a laboratory late at night, a single lamp glowing over notes and diagrams sprawled across a workbench. The air vibrates with anticipation, as if on the edge of discovery. For centuries, this has been the domain of the scientist. the relentless seeker of objective truth, peeling back layers of reality to reveal what lies beneath. But beneath the equations and microscopes, a quieter knowing persists. The same sense of awe that fills the sacred spaces of mystics and monks, a sense, perhaps, that all our searching is ultimately for one thing: essence. What if science, stripping away the unnecessary, has begun to circle the same truths spoken in hushed tones by the ancients? Many believe that science and spirituality exist on opposite ends of a spectrum, but universal truth reveals the further each journey goes, the more their paths inevitably converge. Let's enter this uncanny overlap with a sense of wonder. Modern physics, neuroscience, and psychology are now validating what mystics have long whispered. Simplicity is not just a spiritual ideal, but a law of nature and consciousness itself. Take, for instance, the extraordinary phenomena revealed by quantum physics. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in one place or form until they are witnessed by consciousness, collapsing from a wave of possibilities into a singular reality. This echoes startlingly the Buddhist notion that the mind is the forerunner of all things. In the lab of spiritual minimalism, the experiment is not with matter, but with the contents of our own minds. Each belief released, each attachment let go, is a collapsing of the unnecessary, a movement from infinite potential down to the clarity of essence. Even more telling is the science of coherence. HeartMath Institute researchers discovered that when humans practice heart-centered qualities like gratitude and presence, qualities central to minimal spiritual practice, the electromagnetic field of the heart becomes more ordered, more powerful, influencing not only the brain but others nearby. In that space of harmonious simplicity, the body and mind unify, creating a frequency that both heals and expands awareness. Imagine feeling this, a subtle tingling through your chest, an aliveness that arises not from effort, but from a simple return to the essentials of being. Here we witness a scientific principle. Coherence replaces chaos when we focus on less, not more. Now, neuroscience adds another layer to this tapestry. The brain's default mode network, the seat of wandering thoughts and the narrative self, quiets dramatically during deep meditation, mystical states, even moments of profound stillness. It's as if the mind, once untethered from its endless storytelling, becomes a pool of pure awareness. "When you make the two one," said the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, "and when you make the inner as the outer, then shall you enter the kingdom." Modern fMRI machines, echoing this wisdom, show us the less active the default narrative, the greater the experience of unity, peace, and expanded consciousness. But spiritual minimalism is more than brainwaves. It is a fractal law appearing at every level of life. Consider the elegant geometry of nature, the spiral of a nautilus shell, the unfolding of a fern. These designs aren't random. They are archetypes of efficiency, the universe's way of expressing fullness through the fewest moves. Similarly, the greatest spiritual teachers and the greatest minds have often moved toward less rather than more. Leonardo da Vinci captured this with "Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication." The Buddha's lifestyle was simple, pared down, his enlightenment found not through gluttony or deprivation, but through the middle way. The science of complexity, too, holds vital clues. Researchers have found that complex systems, from the neurons in your brain to vast ecosystems, function best when there is elegance and minimal necessary connections. Over-connection leads to confusion, to spiritual clutter, while the simplest organizers become sources of enormous power and resilience. Isn't this the same principle echoed in the Tao Te Ching? Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. You might be sensing how these discoveries feel less like new knowledge and more like ancient truth remembered. Why do so many of us experience a rush of peace with surrender, decluttering, or returning to the basics of breath and wonder? Science now suggests our nervous systems, our hearts, and even our fields of possibility are structured for simplicity, awaiting release from the tyranny of excess thought, material, and habit. But the validation does not end with the laboratory. Near-death experiences and psychedelic studies have ignited scientific curiosity, revealing that the boundary between physical and spiritual might not be as solid as once believed. Subjects consistently report that, as the layers of the personality dissolve, they encounter not oblivion, but an immense clarity and unity, an experience of pure awareness, described by mystics for millennia. Dr. Sam Parnia, a leader in near-death research, summarizes this. Consciousness appears to be a separate, dimensionless entity, unaffected by the loss of physical function. The essential, once the personal, dissolves. In the realm of psychology, researchers like Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi define flow as a state of full absorption, where complexity drops away and the self merges with the act. Athletes, artists, meditators all describe a moment where the mind stops grasping and simply becomes. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few, wrote Zen master Shunryu Suzuki. Science and spirit, each confirming mastery, arises in the luminous space where little remains but attention itself. The implications are vast. From the non-local connection reported between quantum particles, entanglement, to the reported synchronistic experiences of meditators and healers, a new language emerges. The more minimal your inner and outer world, the stronger your resonance with reality's deepest order. As Carl Jung put it, synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. Quantum biology, consciousness studies, and even biophysics now hint that we are fields within fields, each of us capable, when uncluttered, of being directly guided by universal intelligence. But what does this mean for you? It is the energy you bring to each moment, subtle, clear, undivided, that determines what unfolds. Minimalism is revealed as a force multiplier, the silent amplifier of conscious intent. The great spiritual simplifiers, Rumi, Jesus, Lao Tzu, channeled wisdom not by effort or complexity, but by unburdened presence. Science, at last, is learning to measure what sages could only sense. Wherever complexity crowds out the essential, awareness contracts. Wherever the unnecessary is cleared away, the universe opens. This reveals something profound about the evolutionary role of spiritual minimalism. It is not only a path to personal peace, but an alignment with the deep architecture of reality itself. Just as subatomic fields, neural networks, and ecosystems thrive on simplicity, so too does human consciousness discover its highest expression by returning to the essence, letting go of the rest. And yet, a question remains, lingering like a silent note at the end of a symphony. If the universe itself rewards the move toward essence, if both science and wisdom traditions point us lovingly toward minimalism, how might this understanding change the very direction of your soul's journey on Earth? What you are about to discover in the next part will unveil a perspective rarely explored. How your very purpose, your life contracts, and your evolutionary path are shaped not by what you accumulate, but by what you are willing to release. Could simplifying the soul be the greatest secret of all? The next revelation will take you where science cannot go alone, the quantum frontier of soul purpose and spiritual evolution. Stay close, for this shift may awaken something completely new within you, something essential waiting to be remembered. At the quietest edge of night, Beneath a sky swept clean of all but the most essential stars, you may sense an invisible thread pulling at your heart, a subtle longing to remember why you are truly here. Beyond the layers of personality, ambition, and even spiritual striving exists a deeper inquiry, one that echoes through the ages. What is the true purpose of my soul? From time immemorial, wisdom keepers across continents have hinted that purpose is not found through the weight of external achievement, nor by accumulating lists of spiritual credentials. Instead, the path to purpose is guided by a process of returning, refining, and releasing, stripping away all that is not truly yours so that the original pulse of your existence can resound with clarity. This is the essence of spiritual minimalism at the level of soul, living not as an overloaded traveler anxious to grasp every roadside treasure, but as an awakened wanderer who recognizes that the journey unfolds best when unburdened, when only what is essential remains. Many believe that meaning is created by adding more experiences, more knowledge, more external fulfillment. But universal truth reveals meaning arises as we shed illusion, as we distill our being to its most honest essence. Consider the idea of the life contract, a soul-level agreement often described in near-death experiences, shamanic journeys, and mystical visions. According to these teachings, before entering physical existence, our souls choose certain lessons, relationships, and challenges not to collect trophies, but to catalyze evolution. These contracts hold within them the seeds of our deepest growth, yet they are written in the ink of simplicity, love. Given and received, truth acknowledged, presence embodied. You might be sensing, in a quiet corner of your being, a resonance with this idea, a memory, perhaps dim, of having chosen a path not for the sake of its complexity, but for the purity of experience it could afford your evolving spirit. There is liberation in this. Your purpose is not a hidden code you must decipher from piles of spiritual doctrine, but a song inherently yours, waiting for the noise to fall away so it can be heard. Let us deepen into this mystery through the lens of timeless wisdom. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna assures Arjuna, "It is better to live your own destiny imperfectly than to live an imitation of somebody else's life with perfection." Even Vedic sages recognize that soul purpose is unique and intimately simple, less about a grand, complicated mission, and more about true alignment, authenticity, and the courage to follow the quiet guidance of one's own spirit. Similarly, in indigenous traditions, elders often teach that each person carries a medicine, an original gift meant to be offered to the world. Finding that gift is not about gathering accomplishments or masks, but about learning what to put down. What you are looking for is where you are looking from, writes the Sufi mystic Rumi. In his poetry, we hear the call to the essential self, a stripping away until only the core song remains. And yet, the paradox unfolds. Our culture encourages us to equate spiritual evolution with the stacking of achievements, milestones reached, skills acquired, wisdom documented. But evolution, in all of nature, is marked by a move toward elegance, not excess. The tree prunes its own branches for optimal growth. The caterpillar dissolves almost entirely before its transformation. So too do souls, at certain points of awakening, feel compelled to let go, to surrender identities, attachments, even beloved dreams that no longer align with their evolutionary arc. Have you not felt the call, once or many times, to step away from crowded paths, to leave behind what has become heavy, to trust the strange joy that arises in simplicity? This is not regression, but evolution in its most sacred form. Carl Jung, whose work bridged the visible and invisible realms, wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Spiritual minimalism is the quiet forge in which true identity distills, where the gold is separated from the ore. In soul work, this refinement may be experienced as a series of inner invitations to forgive and thereby lay down ancient grievances, to speak the truth, even when false roles would offer safety, to clear one's mental and emotional field, making space for direct guidance, to dissolve inherited beliefs so the unique music of soul may resonate unhindered. Each act of release dissolves the density accumulated over lifetimes, allowing your innate vibration, your soul's signature frequency, to shine unobstructed. This is why so many who commit to a minimalist spiritual path find themselves encountering synchronicities, intuitive clarity, and seemingly effortless growth. When you carry less, you travel further, and the energy of the universe rushes in to align you with your highest contract. This process is not always comfortable. It can feel at times like a great undoing. Relationships shift, priorities reorder. The familiar may give way to the unknown. But within the uncomfortable simplicity, you begin to recognize a sacred pattern. The more honestly you live, the more clearly your path unfolds before you. Like the sun rising over an uncluttered horizon, direction reveals itself when the obstacles, the unnecessary fears, borrowed expectations and obsolete ambitions are set aside. Science, too, is beginning to echo this universal dance. Psychologists have found that those with a clear sense of self, who refine their values and purge inner contradiction, report the highest levels of meaning, happiness, and resilience. Mystics would simply add, this purity of purpose is not something achieved, but recovered, as one peels away the layers of what they are not. In this way, spiritual minimalism aligns with the deepest current of human evolution, not a linear ascent, but a spiral return to essence, richer for what has been let go. Have you ever noticed how children, freshly arrived from the soul realms, embody a lightness, a truthfulness that needs no ornamentation? And how, at the end of life, many speak of returning to what matters most: love given, forgiveness offered, the beauty felt in simple presence. From beginning to end, the soul's lesson is clear. What matters most is what endures after everything else has been released. This reveals something exquisitely profound about your journey. Your highest purpose, your soul's contract, is encoded not in what you accumulate, but in what you distill. In every tradition, the greatest spiritual leaders have taught in parables and simplicity, their power undiminished by the absence of excess. St. Francis of Assisi, who walked away from wealth toward a life of radical simplicity, found divinity not in riches, but in the bare beauty of the natural world. Buddha's enlightenment came as he let go of both luxury and asceticism, arriving finally on the middle path, clear, open, and unburdened. You might be wondering now, how does one truly discern what to keep and what to release? The answer lies in the deepest attentiveness, to the felt sense of resonance that arises when something is true, to the lightness that follows genuine surrender, to the energy that flows when you walk your own path rather than one prescribed for you. This is the art at the heart of every evolving spirit, to step courageously into the unknown, carrying only what sings within you, what draws your being into greater coherence and authenticity, what aligns you with the silent wisdom of the universe itself. But here, a deeper invitation begins to stir. If spiritual minimalism shapes the very architecture of your evolution, what are the energetic tools and practical methods that can support you on this path? How can you attune your vibration, heal what remains, and harness the transformative power of minimal living in everyday experience? What you're about to uncover next is nothing less than a blueprint for energetic freedom, a journey into the subtle technologies of healing, vibration, and transformation, where the minimalist path becomes not just an ideal, but a lived reality. Prepare to feel the energy shift as what was once theory ignites into living, breathing possibility. The next revelation will initiate a new frequency within you, precisely the one your soul has been waiting to remember. Imagine a room swept clean of all but a single candle, its warm glow stretching effortlessly into every corner. There is an immediate sense of peace, an uncluttered expectancy, as if in this space, transformation can finally occur. In the same way, when we clear the inner chambers of our being, real energy, pure, healing, transformative, moves freely at last. Here lies the hidden gift of spiritual minimalism. It is not merely an act of letting go. It is the conscious creation of space for energy to flow, clarify, and elevate. The less encumbered we are, the more sensitive and receptive we become to both our own power and the healing energies ever available to us. This principle, echoed across spiritual traditions and validated by modern science, points to something subtle yet profound. Our vibrational state is shaped more by what we subtract than what we add. But what does it mean to heal and transform through the lens of spiritual minimalism? Let us begin by demystifying energy. In the wisdom of the ancients, life force, prana, chi, ruach, or spirit, was understood as the living current animating all things, connecting the physical and the spiritual in a web of flow. Today, quantum biology and biophysics point towards similar conclusions. Every cell, thought, and emotion is a vibrational pattern, radiating frequencies that either harmonize or disrupt our overall field. You might be sensing even now the subtle dance of these fields within you. Perhaps you've noticed how a peaceful environment instantly soothes your nerves, or how releasing a long-held emotion leaves your body feeling lighter, your mind clearer. These are not metaphors. They are real physiological and measurable shifts in vibration, and the key to unlocking them often lies not in addition, but in release. Across time, healers have practiced the art of energy clearing, the gentle washing away of blockages, stagnant beliefs, and emotional residue. From the shamanic smudge of burning sage, to the Zen practice of kinhin, walking meditation, to Reiki's hands-on attunements, each tradition aligns with the science of coherence. As HeartMath studies show, the heart's electromagnetic field expands and harmonizes as we let go of stress, align with gratitude, and return to simplicity. Why does this happen? The answer pulses at the core of spiritual minimalism. When we clear what is not essential, old wounds, toxic relationships, mental clutter, the body and soul calibrate to their natural resonant frequency. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When those thoughts are few, pure, and unhurried, what remains is a vibrant essence, undistorted." This process is not always gentle. Just as a river must break through debris to flow unimpeded, your journey into vibrational transformation may surface what has been buried: grief, old stories, hidden fears. Yet within the minimalist path, the commitment is not to fight or fix these energies, but to compassionately notice, to honor, and then to let them go. In doing so, healing is not forced but allowed. Consider the practice of sound healing. A single crystal bowl, struck in the stillness, can recalibrate a chaotic room into order. Its clear tone entrains the space. Chaos surrenders to simplicity. In your life, spiritual minimalism sets the conditions for similar resonance. When you remove what is discordant, your entire field synchronizes. Body, mind, and spirit attuning naturally to the wisdom of the present moment. And here, neuroscience makes another surprising cameo. Studies on meditation, especially minimalist forms like Zen or mindfulness, show a direct energetic effect. reduced inflammation, increased heart coherence, an uptick in beneficial neurotransmitters, and even the repair of genetic expression. Simplicity in practice, focusing the mind on breath, mantra, or presence, unleashes cascades of healing the body does not access when lost in complexity. This reveals something fundamental about transformation. It is not an effortful construction, but an effortless emergence. When we let go, remove, clarify, and purify, what remains naturally returns to balance. Goethe captured this ancient truth in a modern voice. In all things, the supreme excellence is simplicity. Healing, then, is not a puzzle to be solved, but a space to be revealed. For many, the process becomes tangible through energy work, Reiki, Qigong, breathwork, or simple meditative tuning in. Each modality, when practiced with minimalist intention, catalyzes the shift from fragmentation to unity. Picture yourself sitting quietly, hands over heart, simply observing the ocean of sensations within. With each exhale, feel the energy of some old weight leaving your body. With each inhale, experience the influx of vital, unburdened awareness. Over time, these moments of letting go accumulate not as clutter but as a deepening clarity, a vibrational homecoming. In the wisdom of Ayurveda, there is a teaching. When diet is wrong, medicine is of no use. When diet is right, medicine is of no need. Apply this principle to the diet of the soul. When your energetic intake is pure, clear, and minimal, healing occurs naturally, and transformation is not a distant goal but an ongoing reality. You might be questioning now, but how do I know which energetic clutter to release? The body and intuition are trustworthy guides. Notice what drains you, what repeats without resolution, what situations or relationships persistently cloud your internal space. When you are honest with yourself, bravely acknowledging what no longer serves, it becomes easier to surrender, to make way for the luminous energy waiting to arise. What emerges from this process is nothing less than a metamorphosis. The butterfly is the ultimate minimalist, carrying nothing from its former life but the essence of transformation encoded in every cell. So too do you, as you lighten energetically, unlock new dimensions of creativity, inner guidance and connection. The soul's native state is neither fragmented nor heavy. It is luminous, sensitive, and resonant with the frequency of love. This reveals something wondrous about energy, vibration, and spiritual transformation. It is your birthright to heal, to grow, and to shine, not by adding more, but by coming home to less. Saint Teresa of Avila wrote, "The closer one approaches to God, the simpler one becomes." This is the great alchemy of spiritual minimalism. Each relinquishment is a return, each clearing a celebration, each vibration a song of restored wholeness. But the adventure is not complete. An idea may be luminous, and a subtle energy may be felt in stillness, yet unless these truths are woven into daily life, they risk fading into abstraction. The next step, then, is crucial. How can you translate these revelations into concrete practices, living, breathing rituals that support your spiritual clarity and energetic well-being, moment by moment? What you're about to receive is a treasury of practical tools, ancient and modern, simple yet profound, that will turn the minimalist ideal into everyday transformation. Prepare for a gateway, the rituals, meditations, and mindful actions that create real-world resonance, bridging the gap between inspiration and lasting embodiment. The blueprint of essence over accumulation is now ready to come alive in your own daily life, and what unfolds next will empower your journey beyond anything you have yet imagined. Picture the first stillness of dawn. You awaken in a room bare of distractions, no scattered papers, no blinking screens, only soft sunlight filtering through half-closed blinds. There is a gentle, humming quiet within your chest. In this uncluttered space, Something luminous stirs, the pure potential of a new day, clear, receptive, unburdened. This is not an accident, but a direct fruit of spiritual minimalism. And here, at the heart of your daily life, lies the secret passage to transformation. Practical, simple tools that let you experience, not just imagine, the art of essence over accumulation. Many believe that spiritual progress demands elaborate rituals, complicated techniques, or a constant chasing after the next big thing. But universal truth reveals the most potent tools are often the simplest, the ones you will actually use, minute by minute, breath by breath, until the sacred is no longer a separate activity, but the subtle hum beneath everything you do. These practices are the bridges between idea and embodiment, theory and lived radiance. Let us step now into the living laboratory of your everyday existence and gently unfurl the most essential instruments of spiritual minimalism. Each practice is a key, capable of unlocking vast reservoirs of peace, clarity, and authentic presence by clearing the unnecessary from your field, moment by moment. First, there is meditation, the original technology of consciousness. Across traditions, meditation is less about escaping the world and more about distilling your awareness into the present moment, where everything unnecessary falls away. In the spare simplicity of a mindful breath, you reclaim your power to choose what inhabits your inner space. Try this. As you inhale, silently think, let. As you exhale, go. Rest in the pause that follows. Sensing the miraculous expanse within. No ornate rituals, just attention, soft and clear as moonlight on water. Even neuroscience now echoes what mystics always knew. A few minutes of daily meditation rewires the brain, floods the body with healing hormones, and clears space for new insights to emerge. Think of your mind as a garden. Each meditation is a gentle weeding, removing invasive thoughts, allowing the rarest blossoms of intuition and joy to thrive. Mindfulness is the second pillar, your invitation to radical presence in each ordinary moment. You do not need special cushions, incense, or chanting. You only need to remember, now is enough. While eating, feel the textures and taste without judgment. When walking, tune to your feet striking the earth, your breath sliding in and out. Each act of attention is a clearing away of the mental dust that so often muffles spirit. The Sufi poet Hafiz offered, now is the time to know that all you do is sacred. When you move through your day with this awareness, even washing dishes or answering an email becomes a vessel for presence. What happens when you forget and fall into distraction, anxiety, or old patterns? The minimalist invites the simplest reset, pause. 3 conscious breaths, right where you are. Place a hand on your heart. The great Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh suggested, smile, breathe, and go slowly. With every pause, you're resetting your vibration, decluttering not just the mind, but the field that magnetizes your entire life. Energy work is the third key, and it too thrives on simplicity. The minimalist's energy practice is not about complex visualizations or unwieldy systems, but about attuning to the body's wisdom and the universal field. Try this micro-ritual. Stand tall, shake out your limbs lightly, close your eyes, and imagine a gentle golden light rising from your feet to your head. With each exhale, feel old heaviness leaving through the soles of your feet. With each inhale, draw in the fresh, living energy of the earth and sky. This is the art of clearing and recharging your subtle body, and it works best when practiced in moments woven naturally into your day. Reiki, Qigong, or Tai Chi flourish when stripped to their essential movements or intentions. Even a simple hand placed over the heart or belly centers you, signals safety to the nervous system, and harmonizes your energy. These are less techniques and more remembered states, direct connections to the healing current running through all life, awaiting your quiet, uncluttered invitation. Consider the Japanese concept of ma, the sacredness of empty space, applied to your daily schedule. Rather than filling every hour, allow gaps between meetings, before errands, after meals. Use these moments to drop into mindful awareness or gentle breathwork. You'll begin to notice a transformation. As inner clutter diminishes, joy and creativity naturally arise from the clean, open spaces of being. This reveals something profound about spiritual tools. Their power is not in their novelty, but in the purity of your intention and attention. The ancient Buddhist mantra, Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgat Bodhisvaha, gone, gone, gone beyond, gone utterly beyond, enlightenment hail, is a hymn to letting go over and over beyond the familiar. Every simple act of presence in this light is a sacred letting go, a surrender into the ever-renewing moment where awakening is possible. Simplicity does not mean the absence of beauty or meaning. It means the return of essence. A single flower in a clean room provokes more wonder than a tangled bouquet. So too does a single practice, deeply honored, open wider doors than a dozen skipped from one to the next. What about the clutter of digital life, noisy relationships, or emotional baggage? The minimalist's approach is to address them with small, consistent acts of kindness and clarity. Unsubscribe from one unnecessary email list. Spend 5 minutes in nature, phone-free. Journal out a limiting belief and with a deep breath thank it and let it go. Each act creates more space for your truest self to breathe. Remember, minimalism on the spiritual path is not about austerity or deprivation, but gentle abundance, the abundance of space, of time for stillness, of energy for what matters most. As the Tao Te Ching declares, to attain knowledge, add things every day. To attain wisdom, remove things every day. Wisdom grows not by accumulation, but by distillation. And as you continue, trust your intuitive sense of what brings harmony and clarity. Each soul is unique. What simplifies and uplifts you may differ from others. Allow spiritual minimalism to become your own evolving art. Not a rigid system, but a living, breathing relationship with essence. This reveals something crucial about the journey. Every practical tool is a doorway, not a destination. The room of your life, made spacious by gentle practice, becomes a sanctuary where the sacred may dwell, effortlessly, luminously, joyfully. But a new question begins to shimmer at the horizon. Can you truly walk this path alone, or do you hunger for a deeper connection? A sacred community where authenticity flowers, free from dogma, where collective resonance amplifies your individual awakening. What lies ahead may surprise you. The minimalist's approach to spiritual community, where togetherness becomes a force for exponential growth and healing, not through conformity, but through the shared pulse of essence. Prepare to experience a new vision of conscious connection, one where every soul brings their own clear light into a tapestry vaster than any individual path. The next revelation may forever redefine your understanding of spiritual belonging. Imagine walking into a gathering where silence and presence speak louder than words, where every soul's light is welcomed and nothing needs to be proven. No imposed creed, no spiritual ladder to climb, just a deep breath of belonging, as if you have finally come home to a circle that honors not what you wear on the outside, but the essence you carry within. In such a place, spiritual community becomes not a doctrine, but a living field, resonant with the energy of all who enter, entwined in the gentle art of essence over accumulation. Many seekers, yearning for connection, have found themselves burdened by the weight of collective dogma, well-intentioned rules, unexamined traditions, or the pressure to conform to group identity. but universal truth reveals. Authentic spiritual community is born from simplicity, liberated from excess, where everything superficial falls away so that the core of each soul can shine. Close your eyes and sense what it would feel like to be held in a community whose sole invitation is presence. As you enter, you exchange an unspoken agreement. Here, you may lay down your masks. Here, you are enough. The air vibrates with authenticity and quiet joy, as if everyone has traded the heavy tapestry of performance for the ease of just being. In this uncluttered gathering, dogma dissolves, and what remains is the raw beauty of connection, an energy palpable and nourishing. This is the true purpose of spiritual minimalism at the level of collective consciousness. It is not a solitary discipline, but a revolution in how we relate, co-creating a field where the soul's truth resonates and amplifies with every shared intention. Across traditions, the wisest teachers knew a single flute is lovely, but an orchestra of attuned simplicity lifts the spirit beyond what any soloist can achieve. Where two or more are gathered, in my name I am there, said Jesus, not referring to rituals or dogma, but to the mysterious energy that arises from presence in unity. Consider ancient wisdom circles, like the original Sangha of the Buddha's followers, the Sufi zikr, or the indigenous talking stick gathering. Their secret was not in their complexity, but in the minimalist art of holding space, listening deeply, sharing honestly, and weaving each person's essence into a wider whole. What made these communities transformative was not uniformity of belief, but mutual openness, a field uncluttered enough for spirit to move. Science, too, now glimpses the power of such resonance. Studies in group coherence, whether among meditating monks or synchronized heart rhythms, reveal that when individuals attune to a common field of peace, compassion, or shared intention, measurable shifts occur in both group dynamics and even the surrounding environment. The Maharishi effect, named after observations in meditating communities, showed that a group's focused presence could lower crime rates, reduce tension, and invite harmony into the wider collective field. You might notice the subtle pulse of this principle in your own life. Recall moments at a retreat, in an honest conversation, sitting quietly with a friend, when words fell away and something greater took over. A collective breath, a shared silence, a sense of deep understanding that emerged not from consensus, but from coherent presence. This is the minimalist principle in action. The less you impose, the more space for true connection to arise. Yet paradox abides. Many believe that belonging demands sameness, adherence, the cloaking of difference. But universal truth reveals, the more we release expectations, rigid beliefs, the need to be right, the more we tap into the collective intelligence that transcends the individual mind. A human being is a part of the whole, called by us universe, wrote Einstein. But he experiences himself, his thoughts and feeling as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. Spiritual minimalism gently dissolves that delusion, letting collective consciousness become the natural outcome of shared essence. So how do we cultivate and enter a community without dogma, one that honors essence over accumulation? Begin first within. Every time you authentically show up, without pretense, agenda, or expectation, you energize the collective field. Your willingness to be seen in your simplicity, to listen without fixing, to witness without judgment, becomes the quiet foundation upon which true spiritual fellowship grows. Bring this minimalist spirit into your gatherings, whether online or in person. Practice intentional silence before speaking. Invite sharing from the heart, not the intellect. Honor difference as diversity of the one. Even the structure of your circles can reflect this. Let go of rigid hierarchies. Allow leadership to rotate or dissolve. The Sufi poet Hafiz wrote, "A day of silence can be a pilgrimage in itself. Sometimes, the deepest healing and wisdom arise when the group simply rests together in presence, letting the collective field reorganize itself without interference." Notice, too, the spaces between your spiritual connections, the ma of community. You do not need to fill every moment with speech or action. Allowing pauses, letting insights land, giving each soul the dignity of their own pace. These small acts of spaciousness transform a crowd into a living network of essence. When collective intention arises from this minimalist ground, extraordinary things become possible. The group becomes an amplifier of intuition, an incubator for synchronicity, a vessel for creative insight that could never have emerged alone. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together, says the African proverb. Each soul that releases dogma, softens into presence, and aligns with their own essence brings a unique frequency to the community's web, and the web is made stronger, more beautiful, more alive. This reveals something exquisite about consciousness. It is inherently collective. Each act of personal decluttering, the dropping of fear, comparison, or defense, is a gift to the whole, making space for wisdom to emerge from the field. In such societies, bit by bit, the world itself is healed, not by mass agreement, but by millions of small returns to essence. And still, you may wonder, what does this minimalist community feel like in the lived reality of real lives? It feels like a breath of fresh air after a storm. It feels like laughter echoing in a hall where everyone knows it is safe to be real. It feels like being witnessed, not as a role, but as a soul. You become the torch that lights up every room you enter, not by dazzling, but by radiating the subtle peace of being enough, of carrying nothing extra, yet somehow offering everything. This is how spiritual minimalism transforms the singular path into a collective awakening. The less we compete, impose, or clutter each other with expectations, the more the quantum field of consciousness harmonizes and lifts all. The age of dogma is fading. The age of essence, luminous in its diversity, is rising. But what of the individual journey within the collective? How do real people, perhaps like you, translate the art of spiritual minimalism into lives dramatically changed? Choices transformed, destinies awakened. What you are about to witness next are the living stories, the raw awakenings and radical transformations of souls who have embraced essence over accumulation, proving that the minimalist way is not theory, but a living revolution. Allow yourself to be inspired, for the next part will illuminate not just what is possible, but what is already quietly unfolding in seekers like you right now. The final revelation awaits, a direct transmission of awakening through the simplicity of true experience. Imagine this. A woman stands on a remote cliff's edge, dawn breaking behind her, the wind unbraiding yesterday's ambitions from her hair. With no phone, no agenda, no audience, she listens only to her breath and the hush of the world opening. What's left of me, she wonders, when there's nothing left to hold? In her journal later she writes, "When I no longer clung to the idea of who I should be, I met the self who already was enough, her." Awakening is not dramatic, but quiet, a remembering, a homecoming, a love for the simplicity beneath everything. Such stories, humble yet profound, pulse at the heart of spiritual minimalism. This is not a rarefied teaching, but a living possibility, unfolding in seekers around the world who, by stripping away the unnecessary, discover a vitality and presence that cannot be found through accumulation. Across continents and histories, the art of essence over excess marks the real turning points. Those moments when human souls, ordinary and luminous. Choose less and find everything. Consider Michael, once an ambitious executive, whose life was a vortex of acquisitions and aspirations. Burnout arrived as a silent storm, nights awake, chest tight, suffocating beneath layers of expectation. One evening, in the stillness forced by exhaustion, Michael began discarding the physical and mental debris crowding his existence. The shedding was literal, selling possessions, stepping away from the cult of busyness, and most profoundly, giving himself permission to be incomplete. I thought I'd end up with less, he recalls, but as the clutter left, my relationships deepened and my intuition returned. Peace came back as if it had only been waiting for an invitation. Today, he lives with fewer things, but an open richness in every encounter, the sacred fullness of empty space. Or hear the journey of Samira, whose spiritual path had once spiraled into frantic seeking. She attended workshops, read stacks of books, clung to every new practice that promised illumination. And yet, the more she collected, the more elusive clarity became. The turning point arrived during a silent retreat. With every item, schedule, and belief gently set aside, Samira was surprised to realize I had confused spiritual consumption with awakening. In stillness, I felt waves of energy rise I'd never known, a truth both ancient and new humming through my bones. Like so many others, what freed her was not the addition of one more secret, but the courage to surrender, the minimalist way. Now her daily ritual is more about listening than doing, about returning than seeking. The longing for something more has faded. In its place, a living spaciousness brightens every moment. The same thread runs through the life of Carlos, a healer from Brazil. Trained in complex modalities, he began to feel burdened by the routines he once cherished. During a walk alone through the rainforest, he felt an unexpected prompting. Trust the simplicity of your hands, your heart, the breath of the world. Let the river do the clearing for you. Carlos started letting intuitive silence guide his practice. The more he released technique, the more profound the healings became. Energy flowed with ease where formulas had failed. Nature herself, he laughs, is the great minimalist. When I stopped layering on expectations, I felt connected to everything. My healing touch became lighter, but the healing itself grew stronger, as if I finally partnered with the field, not my effort. Can you feel the pattern shining through these stories? Transformation arrives not as a result of gathering, but of letting go. The very principle that Zen masters, Sufi poets, and quantum scientists have held in their own unique lights. When the complex finally dissolves, the essential emerges with astonishing power. There is also the journey of Anya, who after years of chasing spiritual status in various groups left behind community dogmas that never quite fit. It was in the quiet act of walking solitary paths in nature, with only the company of birds and wind, that something changed. The world became my sangha, she reflects. I started to sense a belonging that didn't depend on anyone else's validation. My intuition returned. Synchronicities blossomed. My life felt guided, not managed. These individual awakenings become more than private blessings. They ripple outward. As each soul claims the courage to release, a new lightness arises in partnerships, families, workplaces, and communities. Minimalist awakenings are contagious. People around you will sense your clarity, your joy in simplicity, and recognize their own yearning reflected back. Even those on collective paths have tasted this freedom. An intentional community in New Zealand found that their most profound unity didn't come from rules or shared dogma, but from periodic group silence, shared meals with minimal ritual, and a commitment to authentic presence. When disagreements or ego storms arose, their agreement was simple. Pause, breathe, return to essence before speaking. In that uncluttered field, group intuition blossomed, Decisions were easier, joy more consistent, and the collective energy became a wellspring for creativity and healing. You might even be sensing this shift within yourself, a quieter intuition guiding you to spend time with fewer people, to keep only what sings in your heart, to honor your body with gentler care, to let go of what was never yours. These are not failures or losses, but the nervous system, the soul, and the spirit returning, cell by cell, day by day, to their original clarity. This reveals something staggering. When you choose essence over accumulation, your awakening is not a step away from life, but a radical return to it, vibrant and undivided. You become more creative, not less, more intuitive and generous, more stilled and more alive. The minimalist touch opens doors to magic that excess so often conceals, a kind of everyday wonder available to all who dare to release. And yet, in these stories, a final paradox persists. The art of spiritual minimalism is not about denying the world, but revealing its depth through the discipline of less. A single poem, a mindful breath, a glance of knowing shared in silence. These become the portals to presence. As Hafiz wrote, "I wish I could show you, when you are lonely or in darkness, the astonishing light of your own being." The clearing away is the revealing. So the question now arises as sunlight breaks on the new horizon. What might happen if you devoted yourself, not just once, but again and again, to releasing what no longer serves? How would your relationships, your work, your joy, your inner and outer worlds transform if you trusted that your deepest self is waiting always on the other side of clutter? This is not an ending, but an invitation. Spiritual minimalism is not a destination, but a threshold, one you can cross with every breath, every choice, every act of courage to live a little more lightly, a little more true. The greatest secret is that you do not walk alone. Every soul who chooses essence illuminates the way for others, weaving us all into a tapestry of awakening, simple, clear, and infinitely alive. Will you answer this call? The next chapter is written not by theory, but by your willingness to release, receive, and remember the truth hidden in plain sight, that what you most seek is already yours, radiant beneath the surface, waiting to be lived. Let yourself step into your own myth, the minimalist awakened life. The story is still unfolding, and you are the living revelation. As we arrive at this luminous threshold, the culmination of the art of spiritual minimalism, essence over accumulation, pause for a moment and sense the spaciousness now alive within your consciousness. Together across these chapters, we have journeyed through wisdom's most ancient temples, quantum mysteries, living stories of awakening, and the practical sanctuaries of daily life. Each step has been a gentle surrender, a conscious release, a shared remembering that true transformation rarely comes from adding more, but from finally laying down what is not essential and standing humble and radiant in the purity of our being. Reflect for a breath on the path you have walked. You entered perhaps burdened by the complexities of seeking, weighed down by the inherited chaos of cultural and spiritual excess. But as traditions from every age have whispered and science is beginning to confirm, the secret pulse of awakening beats beneath simplicity. The less you carry, mentally, emotionally, energetically, materially, the more direct your connection to the infinite, the more fully you come alive in this present moment. Now we can clearly see how consciousness works through the open spaces we make, just as light floods a room emptied of clutter, and music needs silence between its notes. When we integrate these universal truths, the soul's purpose becomes less about accomplishing or accumulating and more about remembering and returning. Every practice, every act of letting go is not a loss, but a revealing. It is through the willingness to unburden that we Become both the artist and the masterpiece, the clear vessel through which source reveals itself. Feel, too, the energy shift that comes from this perspective. Many sleepwalk through life, overwhelmed by layers of should, must, and not enough, perpetually grasping for meaning through complexity. But you are awakening to something exquisitely different, the realization that less is, in fact, more, that emptiness is not absence, but the presence waiting to be noticed. Even in the quantum field, coherence emerges when energy is aligned, not scattered. In our lives, too, simplicity brings forth harmony, intuition, and deep inner peace. Imagine now how your life transforms as you commit to this path. When your day begins with a few conscious breaths, just the feeling of air entering and leaving your body, you reclaim your power. When you choose to keep only what is alive for you, whether in relationships, beliefs, or environments, you open space for life's greater guidance. When you practice sacred pauses, mindful silence, and gentle clearing, be it your schedule, your thoughts, or your digital world, you invite the universe to fill you with what is truly needed: clarity, joy, authentic connection. The stories we've shared of reclaiming intuition after letting go of spiritual busyness, of healing by surrendering unnecessary techniques, of finding deeper belonging in community unraveled from dogma, all reveal a simple, unbroken thread. Transformation does not require climbing ever higher, but descending ever deeper. When one person remembers their essence and lives it simply, a ripple moves out into the collective field, healing, harmonizing, drawing others home. And in every collective spiritual minimalism is the gentle revolution, building communities not bound by the heavy chains of expectation or doctrine, but by presence, empathy, the freedom of everyone to bring only their essence. As more souls courageously live this way, the quantum web of consciousness brightens, a resonance grows stronger than any outer structure, a harmony rising not from uniformity, but from authenticity and shared intention. Yet none of this is meant to stay as abstract beauty or distant longing. You are invited right now to weave these revelations into the living fabric of your days. Here are a few practical invitations from the universe for you to step across the threshold. 1. Begin each morning with 1 minute of silence. Let the day shape itself from stillness, not obligation. Sense what matters most, and allow intention to arise from emptiness. 2. Dedicate a small time each week to clear space. In your home, your calendar, your heart. Let each act of clearing be a meditation, a statement of trust that you are enough without excess. 3. Practice presence pauses throughout your day. When a decision arises, ask, does this serve my essence or my accumulation? Does this action grow my awareness or contract my being? Let your answer simplify your path. 4. Notice, honor, and release one draining belief or habit. This week, write it down, thank it for any false protection it once offered, and consciously let it go, freeing space in your energetic field. 5. Reach out to another in authenticity without an agenda. Share a moment of true presence, listening, witnessing, or simply holding silence together. Let minimalism ripple outward through relationship. These are not just tasks, but living invitations. Allow them to become the scaffolding for lasting transformation. As you engage them, notice the energetic shift, greater peace, sharper intuition, more frequent synchronicity, and a gentle joy that needs no explanation. You will begin to see your world, both inner and outer, reveal its true brilliance for the first time, simply because you have cleared space to see and feel it. And here is how you can participate in the awakening field. We invite you to share in the comments below the one practice or release that has brought you the most clarity on your journey. Have you experienced a moment where letting go opened the gateway to a new level of consciousness? What synchronicities, insights, or freedoms have blossomed in your life through this minimalist approach? Your story is not just for you. It is a gift and a catalyst, a thread in the ever-widening tapestry of awakening souls across the world. Remember as you carry these teachings forward that you are never alone. Every act of spiritual minimalism sends ripples through the entire field of collective consciousness. Many sleep, but you are awakening to the truth behind all forms, that when nothing is left but essence, you become a living channel for divine intelligence, a beacon of simplicity, and an agent of peace in a complex world. This is your consciousness journey's most luminous truth, offered in the spacious silence between words and in the resonance you now carry forth. Let that statement echo in your being. Pause and feel its truth ripple quietly outward, to every life you touch, to every moment you live. The art of spiritual minimalism is not just a practice, but a remembering, the timeless return to essence, the soul's real home. Welcome this path with an open heart, and watch as the ordinary becomes extraordinary, the silent becomes sacred, and your awakening becomes a living inspiration for all.